Welcome to Behind the Vegas Curtain, where we draw back the curtain on Las Vegas entertainers. Today, we're presenting Jonny Bird. Welcome to Behind the Vegas Curtain. I'm Sam Shockley, and I'm here with a wonderful talent, Jonny Bird. But first, I want you to hear a little bit about what Jonny Bird does in his first song. So let's go to the first song.
I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I seen them bloom for me and you. I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. You know, they asked Louis Armstrong, man, it's not a wonderful world. What about all those wars and stuff? And Louis said something along the lines of, I know there's wars out there, but the world is just what you make it. So listen, old pops, you go out and say, I'm gonna make this a wonderful world. 'Cause that's what it is, baby. Oh yeah. All the colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh yeah. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that.
Jonny Bird, I am so thrilled that you are here.
Me too.
I have got to find out everything about you. To start out, where were you born?
I was born in a little town called Fort Frances, Ontario. It's the southernmost city in Canada, and I grew up in the northernmost city in America, in International Falls, Minnesota.
Honestly?
Yes.
Now, when did you start realizing that you had this talent?
Well, talent, I don't think I would put it in quite those terms. I realized I had a desire.
A desire?
A desire. Listening to my mom, she'd walk around the house. She was always doing things, washing dishes. She was an old-fashioned mom, and she would always be humming or singing. And she'd sing along with the radio, like Donna Fargo and all the country ladies. And I thought it was the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard in my life. I didn't know people could actually do that. I thought only famous people could do that. And my mom would sing and she'd say, I don't have a voice at all. And I said, Mom, and I was just a little kid. I said, it's beautiful. And I wanted to do that myself. I wanted to be that. So I started singing along with the radio, and then I started trying to mimic some of the voices on the radio from the talk show hosts or the DJs and the singers. And that's when I first got that spark.
So you have a vibrato. You have a wonderful voice. You mean you're not educated to it?
I educated myself. Just about everything I do, just about everything I know, I learned by osmosis. Like my dad was the hardest worker I ever met, so I watched him. We didn't have a real close relationship growing up, but I learned how to weld by being 20 feet away from him, and not like I wanted to be a welder.
I watched my dad weld too, but I didn't learn anything. But when did you decide to come to Las Vegas? Did you decide to come to Las Vegas to be an entertainer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The short version, and some folks that know me know the longer version, going to law school, Arby's drive-through to pay for it. A guy came through, offered me a job because he liked my voice. And it wasn't long after that, he drove off and forgot his food. But he left his business card. So the next day I showed up in his Minneapolis office and I said, "You remember me?" He said, he laughed and he said, "Yeah, I forgot my food." And I said, and I brought him his food. And I said, "You also offered me a job." And he laughed again, and I got hired on the spot. I did a wedding that weekend, and it was less than a year later I dropped out of law school and started my own business, Birdland Productions, just south of Minneapolis. Started doing shows, started building up from Radio Shack speakers that I got at a pawn shop. And about every season I would upgrade, and I just grew and grew and grew. And now we're celebrating 30 years in the business with my company. But about 7 years ago, I'd been coming to Vegas every month or every quarter on tour, and I got to know Frankie Moreno, who I consider the most talented person on earth, and we got to be friends. And I talked to him in the parking lot, and I said, "This is what I want." And he said, "You got to do it." So I called my wife about 3 o'clock here, 5 o'clock in Minnesota. In the morning, I said, "We're moving to Vegas."
Oh, my God. And Anna is his wife and his partner
Yes.
in crime.
Mm-hmm.
And she's extremely talented in getting you to
Everywhere.
go forth.
Yes. She's the catalyst.
Yes, she is. Now, since I met you, not just met you, I've known you for a long time, but since I've gotten involved in hearing about your life, I want everyone to know about it. You have a studio, you have people that you promote, you promote yourself. You are now part of the Vegas Voice, which is such
Love it.
a credible job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you've taken over for someone who is very famous here in the Valley. And so how are you getting along with the Vegas Voice?
I love it. It's like my second family. And, frankly, some of the things that I'm involved in here in Vegas, I haven't been here long enough to earn. I mean, that's just the truth.
Humble, that's nice.
Well,
we like humble entertainers.
Well, it's also the truth. I just, as much as I could, I kept my mouth shut and my ears open, and I did the hustle, did the grind, and I just happened to be sometimes in the right place at the right time, and I was ready for those moments. And when Evan, you talked about Evan, stepped away and went down to Florida. Hello, Evan. Enjoying his Florida vacation and retirement. I so wanted to be a part of that, and I got blessed with the ask, and I said absolutely. And so what I wanted to do is respect Evan and grow from there, and just continue to build on what he already had built. And I guess I just consider myself very lucky.
So you produce shows for the Vegas Voice that are on the west side, on the east side, all over town. But you also tour everywhere across the country. And from what I understand, you put your kids and your wife in the car and you take them with you.
Well, that's partially true. This past tour, we did 40 days to Texas and Florida. It's the first tour that my wife went along with the whole time. We drove. It was right around 8,000 miles by the time we got
Lord.
back. And we flew the kids out to Florida just so they could see Florida. But no, I don't normally travel with the kids. And frankly, I don't normally travel with Anna, but it was such a blessing. And it was just so much fun. We had a blast. And next year, this was 40 days, and Anna already carved out next year, we're going to be gone for 90 days.
Oh, my.
And 100 shows.
Oh, my goodness.
About just short of 40 days in Texas or in the Rio Grande Valley. And then all the cities between Texas and Florida. We're going to be down in Florida for about 40 days at resorts all the way down to Miami, all the way up to Tallahassee, and a lot of them around Orlando and Tampa. And we're booking shows right now in Florida and Georgia and Tennessee and Alabama and Oklahoma and New Mexico. And so every city is a stop along the way, there and back. And
you say it's a blessing instead of a grind.
Not at all. If it's a grind, why do it?
But you also do a very unique thing. You know, all entertainers have times when they don't have shows that they're doing. You go to all the senior centers. How many senior centers do you work in?
I've done over 400 around the country. A lot in the Midwest. I was there for a long time. And it started with my grandma. I was down in the Twin Cities, and my grandmother was in International Falls, and I called up my grandma. By then I had a DJ business. I was singing. I didn't have a real show for her, but I called up Grandma. I said, Grandma, I'm going to come up to your place. I'm going to sing some songs for you. I'm just going to come in. We'll go in your like the main room, and I'm going to sing some songs. Love to, because my grandmother loved music. And she was so excited. And then she called me back the next day and she said, Johnny, I got some bad news. They won't let you do it. And I said, what do you mean they won't let you do it? They don't allow any activities in here. They didn't even do bingo. And I said, okay. I hung up and I stewed on this for days. It really bothered me. So I called up my grandma again after the weekend. I said, Grandma, I'm coming up. Here's the day I'm going to be there. I'm coming in anyway. So she had about 30, 35 people in her apartment, I believe. It was a small apartment, and it was for seniors. And when I got in the room, I brought my little card in. There's my grandma with about 80 people. And I'm looking around. There's not even 80 people in this apartment. She went across the street and knocked on every door in the apartment complex next door. And so I just set up. I didn't have a show. I put up a microphone. I put up my system and said, what do you want to hear? And they started throwing out Tony Bennett and Tom Jones and this and that. And we had a blast. And the lady that was managing the place stepped through the door. And she gave me one of those stairs. Stairs that like I remember my grandmother's friend Maxine would give me if she was really mad. And it was one of those stairs. She said, I'm going to see you when you're done. So I went in her office, closed the door, we had it out. And it wasn't a month later that she was gone, and I was asked to come back. And
my.
And I saw the reaction of people, how music transformed that moment, that day. That it was something. And for some of the songs, it brought them back to when they were dancing, because I could see some of these ladies closing their eyes and smiling and swaying back and forth. And I knew that was something.
Just like the old ladies did today.
Yeah, no old ladies here. It's like a murderer's row of beautifulness.
Oh, that's so sweet of you.
Just to conclude that story, from that point forward, I told my grandma every part of me and every part of my company that I was going to develop. And about 40% of our company now focuses solely on seasoned music lovers around the country. Every city I tour in.
Seasoned music lovers. Oh, my goodness.
Every city I'm in, we do a show at a seasoned music facility. And I even carry my grandmother with me with 2 of her wedding rings.
Oh, my goodness. Piggly and Wiggly?
Piggly Wiggly. Yeah, there's a short story. I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to bore anybody, but I wrote a song about my grandparents.
I know. We're going to hear it.
And one of the scenes in the song had to do with the Piggly Wiggly. And so my this is my grandmother on my mom and dad, or on my dad's side. This is my grandmother on my mom's side. And I was lucky. I got to spend as much time as possible with them. I was so blessed. They were great grandparents. They were fun. They were in love. They were funny. They were happy to be married. In fact, my grandmother on my mom's side, she loved being married so much that she did it again and again and again and again. I have 2 of her 4 wedding rings here. But my grandma and grandpa on my dad's side were married for 70 years. They were together their whole lives. And
70, not 7.
70.
Okay.
Yeah, and they met as little kids. They spent their whole lives together. And there's a beach with a tree with a rope on it. The kids would swing into the water. They played under that tree as kids. So did my parents, and so did I. Brought my kids up there. They played under that same tree. And it's like the small cities like that they're always the same. They never age. They never change. And the song takes place in International Falls, and it's in my grandfather's voice. And one time, the last scene in the song, my mom took me up to the Piggly Wiggly, the little grocery store, and my grandparents' apartment was right by it. So we went over there and knocked down their door, and they didn't come to the door, but we knew they were there. My mom had a key, so she unlocked it, and we tiptoed in. There's my grandma and grandpa sitting in rocking chairs, holding hands in the middle of the day watching TV. And my grandfather, in his other hand, had binoculars to watch the TV. Oh. That vision stuck with me. And the fact that they were still in love well into their 70s at that time, I never forgot it.
So you are a singer-songwriter, and you have a studio and all of this stuff. Where can we look in to see you? You have a website. I do have a website, and I'll make one gratuitous plug, if that's okay. The website is newvegas.live. And starting, I think, in the next week or so, we'll be working with the Pass. I'll be doing a lot of shows at the Pass in Henderson in the venue. It's a 200-seat room. And we'll be bringing in shows. I'll be doing some shows myself, and I invite everybody to check out the Pass Casino in Henderson for what's about to happen. Well, we would like to hear the song that you wrote for your grandparents. That'd be great. So that's what we're going to do now. Thank you very much for spending time with us. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sam Shockley for Behind the Vegas Curtain. The song I wrote about my grandma and grandpa back home. Rope on a tree, sunny summer's day, down by the river where the kids would play. Where I first met you, we were both only 8. Looking back in time, think it must have been fate. It was a rope on a tree by the river and you and me. 5 years later, 2 peas in a pod on the banks of the river with a reel and a rod.
sharing stories and your mama's sweet tea, sitting in the shade of a sycamore tree. It was a rope on a tree and your mama's sweet tea by the river and you and me. And the world goes round and the sun goes down, but some things don't change in a small, small town. Another 5 years later, there's love in the air. 18 years old, without a worry or care. Down by the river, in the middle of the night, a boy and a girl holding each other tight. By the rope on a tree and the birds and the bees, by the river and you and me. And the world goes round and the sun goes down, but some things don't change in a small, small town. A lifetime later, there's a chill in the air. Two people in love in a rocking chair, holding hands, sipping on sweet tea. Those two people are gonna be you and me. It was a rope on a tree for eternity by the river and you and me. It started as a rope on a tree by the river and you and me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. See you next time.